Welcome back, everybody, to the fourth day of the Scrabble Players Championship from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Matt Canick, and this morning I'll be joined by Chloe Fatsis for more Scrabble action. Chloe, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, thanks. Great to be here. Excited to watch some Scrabble.
Yeah, super excited to have you on stream as well. Chloe, for those who don't know her as well as they should, a fantastic female Scrabble player from North America. I believe your rating's what, like 1900 or something? You've shot up there so fast.
Yeah, not quite 1900, but maybe soon.
Soon.
Yeah,
I recommend trying to put up some Scrabble content of your own. You don't have to be a grandmaster to do it. In fact, I would love to see a little bit more of the human side of Scrabble. We always show top level players here, which sometimes makes the game feel inapproachable or inaccessible to the living room player or, the common player, the casual player. But this is just a small slice. There are so many divisions with so many different calibers and skills of players. There's something for everybody in tournament Scrabble, and I wish we showed a little bit more of that on the internet. Go ahead, make some mistakes. It's all good. Just get us out there because there's a lot of nerds out there who would love this game in the future. I'll step off my soapbox now. We'll get to some Scrabble action. Rafi to go first in a game he needs to win. EENNPTZ. And I think we're looking at two different options here: Zen, Zen for 24, or Zep, Zep for 28.
yeah, I definitely agree with his choice of Zen here. I think it's worth the 4-point sacrifice to get rid of that second N, which can get pretty clunky.
And Josh to respond now. A rack that doesn't look super fun, duplicate ends and a G and a U, Agnoru. But he is going to have a nice play out of this rack. The 5 Guano, Guano, playing underneath Zen, forming ZAEN and NO for 25. Far and away the best play Josh could make here. Guano, I believe, something to do with bat dung. I don't know exactly what that means, but yeah, Josh has seen it, he spotted it, and there's really no reason to make any other play here. Quite a straightforward decision for Josh.
Yeah, Guano looks great. Just getting rid of the U, the G, the N, and scoring much better than anything else. So yeah, looks awesome.
Rafi can't be thrilled to pick up two more T's into his leave of ENPT as well as an R. So no vowel relief, and instead ENPRTTT on Rafi's rack.
Does things to the board that really are undesirable for Rafi. So yeah, like he's doing right now, I think exchanging was the way to go, or the way I
I
would go.
agree with your analysis 100% spot on there. I would have exchanged in this situation too. Can't open S hooks if you don't have them. I think that's a great decision by Rafi. ENRT should be a good leave unless he picks up three more crappy consonants. But, as tight as this board looks for Rafi, he is actually going to be giving up a bingo to Josh next turn, though all of his plays would not have blocked this. Josh holding on the 7 Almners, Almners. That does not play, but the 8 Manglers through the G and Guano does. No other bingos for Josh on this turn, as Zen doesn't take an S, and Manglers has to be his play here. Here it comes.
Yeah, totally. Luckily for Rafi, he will bingo back now. He has Disinter, Inditer, probably a couple other things.
Yeah, three bingos, one 7 Inditer, as Chloe said, plays alongside Manglers or ME and AR. Disinter plays through the S and Manglers, as well as Dirament through the M and Manglers. Disinter, the highest scoring of those bingos, and likely the most offensive of those bingos. So I'm certain that's what Rafi's going to play. He'll take a little bit of time, as he's done this tournament with bingo prone racks, make sure he sees all the options and chooses the best one. But Disinter, Rafi's best play here, 72 points. And after he makes that play, we'll be looking at a 1 point game,
Wait, Matt,
96
sorry.
to 97.
Josh actually just played a phony there with Mangrels. Manglers is the word.
Oh my goodness. Wow, I didn't even notice that.
I, yeah, I just assumed he played Manglers. That is something. And Rafi didn't even seem to hold.
And what's crazy is I thought mangrel was a word too. I thought that was a set. And then I typed it in my anagrammer, ran it through Quackle, and it gave me one bingo. So, what is a word like mangrel that
Yeah,
we
I know, because it does look pretty familiar to me as well. So, mongrel, I guess, but something else as well. That is weird.
So this is a pretty hilarious case of double blindness between me and Rafi. Of course, first question is, did I mean to play manglers? And the answer is no. I thought manglers and mangrels were an anagram pair. And there are many reasons for this. The words that are closest to mangrel are mongrel and mandrel. So just changing an A for an O and changing the G for a D, those are both valid words. There's also langrel and also landler. So there's some confusion there. I once almost played langler instead of langrel because of the word landler, and that sort of intensifies a little bit of confusion there due to that being a problematic pair. And there's also gangrel. Um, Words that go rel and also go ler are probably also to blame for this. Tumbril and tumbler, as well as gambrel and gambler, are anagram pairs that potentially led me to believe that this was also an anagram pair. There are a couple of words that do go rel and ler. This is just not one of them. And for Rafi, um, yeah, for Rafi, it's just a case of him also probably having the same words in his mind and probably seeing manglers and be like, okay, he's just playing the anagram of manglers, being slightly more defensive. And I was pretty sure this was a word, and it's pretty bad that I made this play because I basically only made it because I was certain that mangler and mangrel were an anagram pair, or at least as certain as I usually am with words. And the reason I made it is to give Rafi a worse floating letter, the L instead of an R. Although there's actually an argument to the contrary that on Rafi's exchange, he's keeping an R rather than an L more often than not. And maybe I should have actually floated the the R instead of the L, excuse me, which would have been potentially better for me, preventing him from maybe playing an 8-letter word by floating the right tile out there. So that was my thinking there. There's also, if I just pan to the screen that I'm at, there's also a very, very big incentive, even if Rafi is unsure of mangrels, to let it go. Because after mangrels, Rafi has bingos. But if he ends up challenging, so let's put this position back, if he ends up challenging mangrels and has the same rack of inditer nitride, there is no bingo here. And his best play, a play not giving me a spot for 8-letter word or for almoners, which is the 7-letter word on my rack, his best play is probably to play in for a measly 11 points, put him up by 10, and in my position after that, probably play something like man, just scoring a few points and maybe interfering a little bit with his opening. And after all is said and done, I mean, I could also do something like Slangier, but after all is said and done, I would be up 8 points and it'd be Rafi's turn. Whereas in the game, when Mangrels was played, so let's just put it back, I took a lead, of course, of 73 points, but Rafi came back with Disinter and is now down 1 point. So you might be thinking, oh, well, maybe he shouldn't have challenged at all, even if he was sure, because in this iteration, he's not down 8, he's down 1. Well, the main difference being that here it is my turn, and in the other iteration of things, it is Rafi's turn. And for all intents and purposes, this play can be, I mean, complicated to an extreme. I mean, the position is very complicated, and there are tons of moving parts here. But I would say that the easiest way to explain the situation between him challenging and not challenging is if he challenges Mangrels off, he is a tempo ahead of if he doesn't. Basically, it's just a question of tempo, and tempo is worth around a half of a turn, so close to 20 points, a bit less. So it seems to have been less than a 20-point mistake, maybe a 15-point mistake not to have challenged, which means Rafi has to be very, very sure that Mangrels is invalid to make the challenge, and even then, it could actually turn out worse for him. For example, in the position where he just plays in, let's put it back once more. If he challenges the word off and has nitride and plays in, and I play man, and let's say he draws this rack, for example, he doesn't have any good plays. But there are also positions where he does draw into a bingo. For example, let's say he draws into tarried or tardier, and after this play, I might even triple. So it's really not like clear that challenging the word off will lead to a better position. Just on average, it will, but there's a lot more variance involved in him not challenging. So very difficult challenge, very difficult position with so many words that are similar to Mangrels, which are valid. And I think this was just a case of me being not good at words, which is not news to anybody, and Rafi being a little bit rusty. Because you can do a lot while not playing Scrabble. You can study all the words and be certain of what is a word, but being certain of what isn't a word is a whole nother story, and that takes a lot of experience and a lot of games and a level of studying that is probably higher than the level of studying that Rafi or myself have done. So yeah, just very interesting position, and I'm very lucky to have gotten away with the word, and very lucky that in the position he wouldn't even think of challenging, pretty much because it just gives him bingos that he didn't have before. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
Definitely reasonable. Looks like he's looking at Ultra though, or something like that. Oh, no, he's playing Wall. Okay.
Okay, so Wall, and he's going to like to play it up top, sacrificing 1 point. It scored one more point with WE and AR atop of Disinter, but Wall does take a back S. So perhaps Josh electing to keep things tight, maybe to shape this board, maybe not to set up an S hook.
Play might have been overly ambitious. I play a Wall for 20. The reason I didn't play Wall for 21 over here was not because really of the S hook that I was creating. That wasn't a huge concern of mine. Biggest concern was just the scoring spot here. So a lot of letters can go here. The F, the B, the C, the K, the M. So just I'm increasing Rafi's score by a lot by playing Wall. He has a random rack. Likelihood that he has one of those high-scoring letters, high-scoring hooks to AR is pretty high. So this play actually increases Rafi's average score next turn by around 5 points. But I think this might have been a little bit too ambitious to sacrifice so many points over a play to this N, such as Rowan, Twain, or Whiten. As you can see by the equity calculator, I was right in my assessment that the IRT leave is a lot better than keeping a U with any of these other possible leaves. However, just scoring 20 points in this position where the game is tied, keeping not so great bingo tiles on this board probably sets me back a little bit too much, and I probably should have just taken the points and taken the open 8-letter word lines that come with the points and the U that comes with the points, and just dealt with my inferior rack, but appreciated my 7 extra points.
He has Deft, DEFT, forming EW, FA, and TUM for 31 points. Definitely Rafi's best option here, and he's not going to spend much more time thinking on this position as he lays it down.
Yeah, if he draws more consonants, he's in the same issue as this time. It's not horrible though.
Yeah, and Josh, we've seen over and over this tournament, thinking not just about this turn, but next turn. What tiles am I holding on to, and how can the play I make now make those tiles stronger in the future? We see both Josh and Jackson, I think, very far ahead, trying to set up the letters they're retaining. So Brit, I think, definitely something Josh would think of as Chloe thought of, even though I failed to.
But it's true, yeah, the NRS sleeve slightly worse than RST. But yeah, here, given the setup, definitely. Oh, he looks like he's going with Bryn, though. Weird
Yeah,
choice.
going with Bryn anyway.
Yeah, I would definitely
RST.
expect him to.
Go
Oh,
ahead, Chloe.
I was just gonna say I would expect him to see something like Brit. So I wonder if he just wasn't convinced by the S setup. But to me, it seems like that would make it worth it.
Ah, yes, I remember this position well. What letter to put on the B4 square? Do I put the N, keeping RST, which is really, really, really powerful combination, or do I place the T instead to create a much better spot for myself and a much worse spot for Rafi's average rack? Yeah, the two plays, if you run a simulation, are neck and neck according to the engine. But I decided I would play Bryn instead. I know I was creating a K and an A hook, pretty dangerous. I didn't have either of those letters. I just felt like RST was so much more powerful than RNS that even by creating an S hook that I can even use later on, it would just end up edging out that setup just to keep the much more powerful leave. I can put the S and the T here for a 7-letter word. If I do draw an A, I can play with a new potentially. I can draw more stuff from this B, and just more 7-letter words are going to fit. But because the plays are so close in simulation, and because simulation often doesn't really account for what we call recursion. So a recurring idea of using this S that Rafi is not super likely to have. I have maybe an extra turn to build my rack towards maybe being able to use this spot, or using it strategically to score points next turn if I miss. It's probably slightly better to play Brit instead. I think I misevaluated things looking at the numbers. It does look like I probably should have played Brit, but because the plays are neck and neck, and because of what happened afterwards, I'm very glad that I played Bryn instead.
I think maybe a missed opportunity for Brit here. As Rafi, again, a kind of no-brainer play, very simple and straightforward. Cutty will score 33 points, leave EVS, which is rather reasonable. And yeah, I don't think there's much to think about or analyze there. Nice play by Rafi.
Yeah, totally the play.
Josh picking up very nicely. Although he doesn't bingo, he picks up an A, which is going to be big for the Anu hook, as Rafi didn't have one. And he has the 6-letter play Pharaohs, Farros, for 45, forming Fid and Anu. Now, you don't necessarily like giving away your S on this board with that disinter back hook sitting available, but 45 points is a lot of points. Expert analysis from Matt Canick. I'll be here all week. So I think you have to make that play here. You could consider keeping things tighter and playing.
Oh, refactor.
Oh. So this will be the second phony bingo by Josh this game as refactors comes down. And it does look like Josh appears to be on hold this time,
Yeah.
casually sipping his water, not drawing his tiles. So Rafi with a huge decision to make. Will I challenge this bingo or will I let it go?
Yeah, it's slightly strange because Rafi seems to be someone who's somewhat solid on his words, though I guess the Mangrels play was just weird all around. But yeah, since this is an 8-letter word with an S at the end, it's plausible, definitely plausible, in fact, highly likely that Rafi would have seen this refactor 8-letter rack before. So he can use, he can write down the alphagram and whatever and see if it looks familiar to him. So I'm sure it was, definitely suspicious as he held when Josh first played it. So we'll see what happens. Or like have some strange vibe that one of them is or is not a word. But it looks like he's challenging. Oh no, he exchanged.
He
Oh
lets it go
no.
and exchanges. Okay, big swing
Man.
in this game.
So Josh is catching some huge breaks here between these two phony bingos.
Yeah, there you have it, folks. That's a second phony bingo that I get away with in this game. Refactor is an extremely common word um, in the coding universe. Even if you don't code yourself, you've probably heard someone use the term. It just happens to not be a valid Scrabble word yet. And it also happened to be a very beautiful play that Rafi should have challenged if he had any doubts. It's just that it's such a common word. Like, he's probably seen it written down. He just hasn't ever studied it because it's not a word. He did hold and unsuccessfully hold, I would say, because he then let the play go. In this position, he's down 56 points and has a really terrible rack and has to exchange. So logically speaking, if he has a significant amount of doubt for this word, he should probably have challenged. I think he was just a little bit bedazzled, as was I, by this disconnected 9-letter word. And also because of our particular Scrabble history. There have been a number of games that Rafi and I have played where I just come up with this out of nowhere 9-letter word. The most infamous of which was habaneros through an A and a B, which happened to block absolutely all of Rafi's bingos on multiple parts of the board. I'm going to show you that picture now. And yeah, I think this had a lot to do with Rafi's decision to be like, well, he did it again. I guess, yeah, I guess he got this one. But of course, he's still in the game. He can come back, but it's going to be a very uphill battle for him at this point.
Yeah, likely gonna play either oboe or OB, OBOE or OBI
Yeah.
through the B and Bren, either 21 points holding CII blank or 15 holding CEIO blank. With the lead, I think I'd prefer in Josh's shoes to keep things a little tight.
I would definitely expect Josh to, not this turn because he really doesn't have a good way of doing it, but next turn, if he doesn't hit a bingo elsewhere, to try to address that spot at all costs. Or not, maybe not at all costs, but he would be pretty likely to address that just because it's so dangerous. But looks like he's going with Cozy. Something I was thinking of, but yeah, I think I did prefer OB just to, with the blank, leave that S open. There really wasn't a huge threat of Rafi been going after in exchange for.
Yes, this was an ultra defensive play. Do I regret making it? No, because of what happened afterwards. But it's possible that this was overextending my reach and over evaluating or overestimating my control over the results of the game. If you enter this position into an engine, it'll say that Cozy blocks around a third of Rafi's bingos, and a third if he bingos a lot, that's a ton. A third if he doesn't bingo a lot isn't that much, and probably means I should have just gone with Obi and tried to bingo myself. With a random rack, I think his chances of bingoing are around 1 in 8. But of course, his rack is better than random, and I assumed that he would be keeping letters that hit the R and the S better than average, better than your average 3 tile leave that you would keep with an exchange 4. But of course, if Cozy doesn't block his bingos, I'm way worse off because if I just play OB and I bingo next turn using the S or the R, I have a C. That's gonna really mess him up. Won't allow him to do as many overlaps to reopen the board. So yeah, OB is potentially a better play. I might have really overstayed my welcome in the world of defensive Scrabble play in this game. But this game was a whole bunch of craziness, and hey, it wouldn't have happened like it did if I hadn't played Cozy. It's potentially a small inaccuracy at worst.
And Rafi, with what's probably going to be his biggest decision of the game, barring challenging either of the phony bingos, what do you do with this K? You can play Key or KYE right now with new for 31 points. You can hold a pretty solid leave. EIMS is not that bad, but you're blowing your K when you could be cashing it for 60 or so points. I just don't see any decent options that score for Rafi now and leave reasonable tiles. The only thing I can think of perhaps is MY and EM next to Cozy. That opens up the right side of the board a little bit more, forces Josh to probably stack or overlap there.
Yeah, it's a tough choice either way. Looks like he's going with Key though. Yeah, or Kai, same deal.
Josh tilts his head. He sees the K come down, and he's like, nope, nope, nope. And then it stops. It stops short of the triple. Josh knowing he has dodged a bullet on this turn. But
And now
Rafi
he'll bingo instantly with bioethic.
Yes,
And that basically will seal up the game, probably giving back no new lanes. That C does not have any underlapping tiles to make a two-letter word. And Josh will now just be able to play defense the whole way back.
He can't lose. He needs to be playing 100% for the win. I do not know what to do. I think I'd sit here forever and play something sad like Hive. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. Rafi playing Hive. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a decent chance for Rafi to get back into this game. He's going to need a great draw here, likely a bingo this turn and a bingo in the next couple of turns to catch up yet. But Hive, a good idea by Rafi. And Josh now, DLNOOUV, needs to figure out what he can do to slam this board back shut, or if he just wants to start running away with this game. We'll pull the unseen pool up for y'all as well. There are now 28 unseen to Josh, 21 in the bag, and that's, again, the juncture of the game where this starts being relatively important.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good-looking bag. Just for this board, it's going to be hard to bingo either way. But yeah, 2S is a blank. So yeah, there's definitely some threats out there. A big Y bingo would put Rafi within range for sure.
And Josh reluctantly, I think, playing duo, just spending more time and seeing, well, there's just nothing else to do. I guess I'm scoring 11 and knocking out this spot as best I can. But the bioethics hook still in play after that. And Rafi now gets a big decision to respond. And he's running out of time. He'll need to pull a bingo soon. All of these tiles on his rack are good bingo tiles. So we'll see how many he chooses to play and how much he tries to score here. Again, I think the L going to be huge in this game for the LY spot. The S as well going to be huge for the bioethics spot. But Rafi also needs to score some points in the process. EH does not take any back hooks in NWL, so if he plays EH and HM or EH and Ham next to Cozy, that is effectively cutting off that end of the board. He'll need to find a better way to score, perhaps something like HAO to the O in Cozy, or is he just playing OH? Okay, OH taking the M that Rafi holding on to, but also takes an O. There are three of those unseen, as well as an S. So OH likely to get blocked, but maybe Rafi feels there's enough that he can pull into AELMRS that makes this worth it. Lamasery, Remotely, options he can draw, as well as Masterly to the Y. So he likes the strength of this rack, and he knows he needs to extend this game and bingo not once, but probably twice to catch up.
I was going to suggest HEAL to the L of Mangrels, setting up his S pretty nicely. Which would have been good, especially because the pool looked like it had a bunch of A's and E's left. But I also do understand this play just to, not play as many tiles and open up this area of the board.
Josh knocking out the Y, I think perhaps he sniffs out. If you're opening a line here, it's a feint, and you're really trying to hit a bingo to the Y. But now Rafi is going to be able to respond with a very high-scoring bingo, making OHM, as he's got Lampers, Sampler, and a number of other bingos out of this rack. Sampler coming down. This will be 98 points for Rafi, and that'll make the score 308 to 347. So Rafi scoring just 5 last turn, but smashes 98 this turn, and feels like he's going to catch back up into this game. However, Josh picking up the X is huge here, as he can crush that spot back with a bingo score of his own. There's also a Q in the bag, which could be a Trojan horse for whoever draws it, as this board is not at all friendly to the Q, and all of the U's have been played. So Josh looking like he's going to play Locks here. He could also play Ox, of course, or LOWSE, overlaps with AW, ohms, and PE for 48 as well. If I'm Josh, I'm only playing 2 tiles here. I do not want that Q, but he's going to play Locks instead. Rafi reaching in the bag like, oh, did you draw that blank, or is it possible you still left it in there for me? 14 unseen to Rafi, 7 in the bag. He realizes here he probably needs to draw a bingo next turn, or he is sunk in this game.
Yeah, I don't see anything either. Yeah, it's just not many options that even seem to give him a chance. He'll just dump the J for JO, delay things a little more, and then hope to be able to clean this up a bit more and draw the blank, I guess.
On Rafi, pull the blank. Pull the blank on your one tile play, not the Q, the blank. Okay,
Nope.
B. Well, Rafi loves leaving blanks in the bag, I suppose, and it seems he'll do it again here. But I think he'd get one more turn to make a play, and even if he has to eat the Q, a play like Wise should outrun in this game. If he wants to play off fewer tiles, dodge the Q, and give Rafi one more chance to play, he could play W. Oh, he's already played Wise. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. Just pretty unlikely that he will get burned so badly for this. And just, yeah, it's
All
hard to
right. So
imagine another play being better.
for Rafi to have a chance, Josh needs to draw the Q and not the blank, and Josh
He
draws
misses both.
neither. So the two tiles left in the bag are Q
Cue blank.
blank.
Wow.
What?
That'll be a draw, quite the draw for Rafi if he decides to play off two.
Okay, so Rafi now likely needs to make a one tile fish. If he makes a two tile fish, then Josh will have perfect knowledge of his rack and be able to block whatever. But a one tile fish will create just enough fog of war that perhaps he could hit something. But a one tile fish would also need to open a lane, or oh man, I don't know. I don't think Rafi can win this game at this point unless Josh plays just makes an absolutely abysmal and uncharacteristic mistake. But I expect to see probably a one tile fish or Rafi to look for a 9 through the ED and hived. Perhaps Josh or Rafi can try to phony with a bioethic or something. I don't know. Rafi's just done in this game.
Yeah, even that isn't going to be nearly enough for him, unfortunately. And yeah, he's just thrown in the towel, not even going for a bingo, and just taking some points, saving spread.
Yeah, perhaps Bop and a really awesome Q stick situation. Oh, okay, he's going to pick it back up. Like, hey, maybe a bingo, but a Bop and a great Q stick would maybe make this game close. But Wise just scored too much for Josh last turn, and Rafi not going to be able to get back into this game. Josh actually did figure out optimal end game for himself.
Wow.
So awesome. I don't even know what he's blocking. Do you?
Yeah, I don't.
Or if he's just guaranteeing an out and two with AOT.
I guess there were no Q sticks then.
Yeah. Umiak still going to be a play for
yeah.
Rafi. His play also gives up Niqab and Kadi and all these other things, but Umiak going to be Rafi's play.
Yeah.
And Josh now gets to go out with his AOT leave. Tawea plays for 12, but OAT also plays alongside Sampler for 13. So assuming Josh has thought this all out, and I'm sure he has, he'll catch Rafi with BDG on his rack. He'll play out for 13 points. And the final on this one's going to be 474 for Josh to 383 for Rafi. 91-point victory for Josh, springing him up to 18-4. And Josh would need to lose probably 5 of the last 6 games to miss out on the final now, as he's pulled even further ahead of this field. Very impressive showing from Josh. Certainly another positive equity game, because the difference between his bingo of refactors and the play of pharaohs for 45, a huge swing in this game. What are you doing, Josh?
Just go out.
Oh, I see where that O goes. Still not the best end game. Just go out, man.
Should have done that earlier. 13? 29. Yeah, I think that was 1 point worse, actually. You got what for that 10? 10. Yeah, Cokes was nice. I saw that. I was like, oh, you're totally going to not go out. You're going to play Cokes. You're an asshole. No, I mean, you're trying. Spread's important. Yeah, but I think it's -1. I think if you play bag, it's better. At 396 to 485. Yeah. You always get random 9s on me.
So with that first game of day 4, I retain my 1 game advantage over Jackson and my 3 game advantage over Kevin Fraley in the standings. Let's show the scoreboard now. Where are you? There you are. So Jackson beats Eric Goldstein and Kevin Fraley beats Joey Malik. And after this, there are only 6 games remaining to determine who will make the finals. So the top 2 players making the finals. And what that means is I would have to lose probably 4 out of the 6 to not make it into the finals. I was feeling pretty good, but we'll want to continue to win games so I can feel even better about my chances of making the finals. So let's look at, of course, the final board here. Looks just like the annotation board, of course, because that's the exact same game, Josh. And I forgot to show you guys the game before this. So this is the final board for those that are that find that important. So there you go. Let's also change the record to after winning the game. What did I win? I won 485 to 396, around 23. We're still around 22, but 18 and 4 plus 944. And that my next game is a repeat again against Eric Goldstein. But I also figured I would be playing Carl Johnson relatively soon. If you bring the scoreboard back up, you can see that Carl is in 4th place and does have a chance to make the finals. And I haven't played Carl yet in this tournament. Carl was the runner-up for the 2019 Nationals. He lost the finals to Alex Seaholm, and somebody that I have an extremely hard time defeating. So Eric first, and then I think Carl was going to be after that. And this is the last game that has a stream behind it. So the rest of the videos will just be me talking to you with everything going on in the background here. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. I know this one was a bit longer than usual. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. I'll see with my engagements. And trying to edit a little bit more, do some cool things on screen. So let me know if you enjoyed those as well. And I'll see you guys for round 23 of 28. Almost done with this thing.